HFY First Contact. The science vessel Harmonious Discovery drifted silently through the uncharted sector, its sophisticated sensors probing the darkness for anything of interest. Captain Zrelk stood on the command deck, his translucent skin glowing faintly with bioluminescence, a trait common to his species when experiencing curiosity. Sensor Specialist Vec, report on anomaly Delta 9, he requested, 4 eyes blinking in sequence. Vec, a short, fuzzy being with 6 limbs, manipulated the holographic controls with practiced precision. Captain, I have isolated the signal. It appears to be artificial in origin, extremely old, and following a repeating pattern. How old? Zrelk inquired, moving closer to examine the data. Based on signal degradation, approximately 237 stellar cycles, Vec replied. And it's coming from the third planet in that unremarkable yellow star system ahead. The captain's skin shifted to a pale blue, indication of concern. That's a long time for anyone to be waiting for rescue. Can you decrypt the message? It's primitive but clear, Vec said. It translates to a basic distress call. 3 short bursts, 3 long bursts, 3 short bursts. An ancient code meaning, save our souls, or simply help in most interpretations. Captain Zrelk considered the implications. The Galactic Concord had strict protocols regarding distress signals, even ancient ones. All civilized species agreed that responding to calls for help was not merely a duty but the foundation of galactic society. Any records of this system in our database? He asked. Science Officer Nala, a tall, willowy being with bark-like skin, consulted her station. Minimal information, Captain. A survey was conducted 240 cycles ago. The third planet was classified as a Class 4 death world. High gravity, extreme weather patterns, dangerous radiation levels, and abundant predator species. The survey team noted primitive radio emissions suggesting developing sentience, but recommended against contact until the species had more time to evolve. A death world, Zrelk murmured. Most spacefaring species evolved on gentle worlds with moderate gravity, stable climate patterns, and limited predation. Creatures from death worlds were rare in the Concord, and often troublesome when encountered. Prepare a detailed report for Concord Central, he decided. Include all data on the signal and the planet. Request instructions. 3 days later, the response arrived. The Harmonious Discovery was to continue its scientific mission. A specialized diplomatic fleet would be dispatched to investigate the distress signal and make first contact if warranted. Fleet Commander Thale of the Galactic Concord stood on the bridge of the flagship Benevolent Outreach as his fleet of 5 vessels emerged from fold space near the coordinates provided by the Harmonious Discovery. His leathery skin rippled with anticipation. This would be his 7th first contact mission, but something about this one felt different. Sensor sweep of the system, he ordered. Let's find the source of that distress signal. What the sensors revealed made everyone on the bridge fall silent. Commander, the sensor officer stammered, I'm detecting thousands of artificial satellites, orbital stations, and warships. The planet has a fully developed space infrastructure. Impossible, Thale said, moving to examine the sensor readings himself. The report indicated primitive technology. They couldn't have advanced this quickly. They have, sir, the officer replied, and several of their vessels are changing course. They're heading toward us. On the main view screen, they watched as a formation of massive ships broke away from the planet's orbit and moved in their direction. They were sleek, dark, and bristling with what could only be weapons. They're hailing us, Commander, the communications officer reported. Accept transmission, Thale said, straightening his ceremonial robes. The screen flickered, and Thale found himself looking at a being unlike any he had seen before. It had only 2 eyes, brownish skin with scattered darker spots, and strange fur on top of its head. It wore what appeared to be a military uniform with numerous decorations. This is Admiral Helena Chen of the Earth Defense Fleet, The being said in a firm, measured voice. "You have entered Earth-controlled space without authorization. Identify yourselves and state your purpose immediately." Thale felt all three of his hearts race. The primitive distress signal had led them straight to a fully developed, militarized world. A world whose inhabitants had somehow survived and thrived on a death world. And now they were facing a fleet of Deathworlders who clearly thought they were under attack. "I am Fleet Commander Thale of the Galactic Concord Diplomatic Corps," he responded carefully. "We are here in response to a distress signal originating from your planet." Admiral Chen's expression showed confusion. "Distress signal? Earth has sent no distress signals to deep space. All our communications are directed through established routes to our colonies." "The signal appears to be very old," Thale explained. "Approximately 237 stellar cycles by our measurement. It was detected by our science vessel and reported to Concord Central." The human admiral conferred briefly with officers off-screen before returning her attention to Thale. "We haven't used SOS signals for deep space communication in over 2 centuries. What you detected was likely from our early space exploration era. Test transmissions never intended as genuine distress calls." Realization dawned on Thale. They had responded to an ancient test signal, inadvertently violating the territory of an advanced species without proper diplomatic protocols. This was a serious mistake. "I apologize for the confusion," Thale said. "It seems we misinterpreted historical transmissions. However, now that we are here, perhaps we could establish friendly contact. The Galactic Concord would be pleased to open diplomatic relations with your world." Admiral Chen's expression remained guarded. "That decision is not mine to make. I need to contact Earth Central Command. In the meantime, your fleet will maintain its current position. Any attempt to approach closer to Earth or our defense platforms will be considered hostile." The transmission ended before Thale could respond. "Sir," Security Chief Kraz reported, "their ships are taking up defensive positions around us. They've activated what appear to be targeting systems and energy shields." Thale's skin darkened with concern. "Make no aggressive moves. Keep our defensive systems passive." "Commander," Science Officer Pelna interrupted, "I've completed preliminary scans of the human vessels. Their technological development is remarkable. The energy signatures suggest weapons capabilities that exceed our defensive measures by a significant margin. If they're hostile, why haven't they attacked?" asked Kraz. "Because they're still trying to understand what we're doing here," Thale replied. "Just as we're trying to understand them." The tense standoff continued for several hours as both fleets maintained their positions. Thale used the time to review all available data on Class 4 Deathworlds and the evolutionary adaptations required to survive in such harsh environments. Looking at these gravity readings, Pelna noted, beings from this planet would have developed much stronger musculature and denser skeletal structures than most Concord species, and the radiation levels from their sun would have necessitated advanced cellular repair mechanisms. "Not to mention surviving the predators," added Medical Officer Jex. "Deathworld predators are typically faster and more aggressive than those on standard worlds." "Are you suggesting these humans are physically superior to us?" Kraz asked, his warrior's pride evident. "I'm saying they evolved under conditions that would kill most of us within days," Pelna replied. "And judging by those warships, they're technologically advanced as well." Their discussion was interrupted by the communications officer. "Commander, we're being hailed again." Admiral Chen reappeared on screen. "Commander Thale, our leadership has authorized preliminary contact. We request permission to send a diplomatic shuttle to your vessel for face-to-face discussions." Thale hesitated. Having Deathworlders aboard was risky, but refusing would appear suspicious and potentially escalate tensions. "Granted, Admiral. We welcome your diplomatic team." As the transmission ended, Kraz approached Thale. "Sir, one of our sensor technicians just completed a deep scan of their lead warship. The results are concerning. The scan showed weapon systems far more powerful than the benevolent outreach shields could withstand. The human ships were designed for war, with multiple redundant systems and armor that would require enormous energy to penetrate. They could destroy our entire fleet if they wanted to, Kraz said quietly. Then why haven't they? Asked the communications officer. Before anyone could answer, alarms blared across the ship. Sir, called the sensor operator. One of their smaller vessels just launched. It's approaching rapidly and has taken up a position that our tactical systems identify as an attack vector. On the view screen, a sleek black human vessel had positioned itself directly above the benevolent outreach, its weapon ports open and glowing with energy. Sir, Kraz said urgently, what are your orders? Thel stared at the human warship, wondering how a simple diplomatic mission had gone so terribly wrong. The misunderstood signal had led them straight into a potential war with creatures evolved from one of the most dangerous planets in the galaxy. And now those creatures were ready to fight. Maintain defensive posture only, he ordered. No aggressive actions. The communication system suddenly activated again. Concord vessel, this is Captain Rise of Earth Defense Force. Your ship performed an unauthorized deep scan of our flagship. This is considered an aggressive action under Earth military protocol. Explain immediately. Thel shot a sharp look at Kraz, who lowered his head in acknowledgement of the error. Captain Rice, this is Commander Thel. I apologize for the scan. It was performed without my authorization by an overly cautious crew member. We mean no harm. There was a long pause before the human responded. We are continuing our approach for diplomatic exchange. Do not scan our vessels again. Any further unauthorized actions will be met with immediate response. The tension on the bridge was palpable as the human shuttle continued its approach, its weapons still visibly powered. Sir, the communications officer said, we're receiving another transmission on a different frequency. A new human face appeared on screen. This one wore no military uniform, but instead had formal civilian attire. The human had lighter skin than Admiral Chen, and long dark hair tied back. This is Dr. Maya Patil of the Earth Diplomatic Corps, the human said. I've been authorized to establish a secondary line of communication while security protocols are carried out. I believe there has been a significant misunderstanding here. Thel felt a wave of relief. Dr. Patel, I welcome your communication. There is indeed a misunderstanding. We came here in response to what we believed was a distress signal from your planet. We had no hostile intentions. I understand. Dr. Patel nodded. Our military takes a cautious approach to unexpected visitors, especially after our previous encounters with less friendly species. But I believe we can resolve this peacefully. As the diplomatic shuttle drew nearer, Thel couldn't help but wonder what other surprises these humans might have in store. The misinterpreted SOS had brought them face to face with Deathworlders, and the real first contact was just beginning. Deathworlders, REVALE. The diplomatic shuttle docked with the benevolent outreach, with precision that impressed even Kraz, the security chief. Commander Thale led a delegation to the docking bay, his three hearts beating with a mixture of apprehension and curiosity. The airlock cycled open, revealing 4 humans, 2 in military uniforms and 2 in formal civilian attire. Dr. Maya Patel stepped forward first. In person, she stood taller than Thale had expected, with a confident posture that suggested strength despite her slender frame. Behind her stood a broad-shouldered man with dark skin, an older human with silver hair, and a younger woman in military uniform who surveyed the surroundings with sharp, analytical eyes. Commander Thale, Dr. Patel said, extending her hand. Thank you for receiving us. Thale hesitated, unfamiliar with the gesture, then remembered the cultural briefing his team had hastily prepared. He reached out and clasped her hand briefly, surprised by the firm grip. Welcome aboard the benevolent outreach, he replied. May I introduce my senior staff? This is Security Chief Kraz, Science Officer Pelna, and Medical Officer Jex. Dr. Patel nodded respectfully to each. My colleagues, General Marcus Washington of Earth Military Command, Dr. Hiromasa Tanaka, xenobiologist, and Lieutenant Sarah Connor, security liaison. As they walked toward the conference room, Thale noticed how the humans moved with surprising grace despite the slightly lower gravity aboard his ship. Their eyes constantly scanned their surroundings, missing nothing. A predator's instinct, he realized. Once seated around the conference table, Dr. Patel opened the discussion. "Commander, before we begin formal talks, I think we should address the misunderstanding that brought us together. Our historians believe you intercepted what we call a Voyager signal, test transmissions sent into deep space during our early exploration era, approximately 200 years ago." Science Officer Pelna leaned forward. "If I may, this timeline is puzzling. Your species has advanced from primitive radio signals to an interstellar civilization in just 2 centuries. The humans exchanged glances. Dr. Tanaka cleared his throat. "By galactic standards, our development has been accelerated. Necessity is a powerful motivator." "What necessity would drive such rapid advancement?" Thale asked. General Washington's expression hardened. "Survival. 20 years after those signals you detected, we encountered our first alien species. They weren't as diplomatic as you." "The Krill incursion," Lieutenant Connor added. "They saw Earth as a resource-rich world with expendable inhabitants." We disagreed. The implications settled heavily on Thale. These humans had not only survived their death world, but had also repelled an alien invasion while still in their technological infancy. "This explains your military response to our arrival," Thale said. "You thought history was repeating itself. Wouldn't you?" General Washington asked bluntly. Thale conceded the point with a gesture. "Before we proceed further, there's something you should know about how the Galactic Concord views your world. Earth is what we classify as a Class 4 death world." The humans looked at each other, expressions ranging from surprise to amusement. "A death world," Dr. Patel repeated. "What exactly does that mean?" "It means your planet has conditions that most spacefaring species would find extremely hazardous or fatal," Pelnut explained. "High gravity, high radiation, aggressive predators, extreme weather patterns, and toxic organisms. The fact that your species evolved under such conditions makes you quite exceptional." To Thale's surprise, Dr. Tanaka laughed. "So you're saying most aliens come from gentler environments than Earth? That explains a few things about the Krill. They couldn't operate effectively in Earth's gravity without mechanical assistance, which we exploited," General Washington added grimly. Medical Officer Jex, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. "If I might ask, would you be willing to share basic biological data? Our scans suggest your species possesses remarkable adaptations, but first-hand information would be valuable." Lieutenant Connor tensed, but Dr. Patel nodded after a moment. "Within reason, yes. Cultural exchange should include biological understanding." As the discussions continued, alarms suddenly blared throughout the ship. Kraz touched his communication device. "Commander, long-range sensors have detected multiple ships entering the system. They match no known Concord designs." General Washington's hand moved to his side, where Thale suspected a weapon would normally be. "Not ours either." The conference room's display activated, showing a dozen sleek, predatory vessels moving toward both fleets. Their design was angular and threatening, completely unlike the rounded aesthetics of Concord ships. "Krill," Lieutenant Connor said flatly. "Vanguard-class strike vessels." Dr. Patel's expression hardened. "They must have detected your arrival and decided it was an opportunity." "An opportunity for what?" Thale asked, though he feared he knew the answer. "To eliminate 2 potential threats at once," General Washington replied. "The Krill Collective doesn't believe in leaving enemies at their back." Thale quickly assessed the situation. "We should return you to your shuttle so you can rejoin your fleet." "No time," Lieutenant Connor said, checking a device on her wrist. "Admiral Chen reports the Krill are deploying interdiction fields. No shuttles can safely transit between our vessels now." General Washington stood. Then we fight together or die separately, Commander. Your choice. Before Thale could respond, the ship shuddered as the first Krill attacks struck the benevolent outreach shields. Diplomatic vessels aren't built for combat, Kraz warned. Our shields won't last long against concentrated fire. Then let's get creative, Dr. Patel suggested. Dr. Tanaka, what if we modify the communication array to amplify the interdiction field against the Krill ships? The older human nodded thoughtfully. If we can access your ship's systems, we might be able to reverse the polarity of their own technology against them. Phil was taken aback by how quickly the humans shifted to problem-solving under pressure. You can do that. We've had 20 years to study Krill technology, Lieutenant Connor said, and humans are very good at turning an enemy's weapons back on them. As the ship rocked with another impact, Phil made his decision. Security Chief Kraz, grant our guests access to engineering systems as needed. Science Officer Pelna, coordinate with Dr. Tanaka. While the humans and Concord engineers worked frantically, Thale contacted the rest of his fleet. All vessels, defensive formation beta, coordinate shield harmonics with the human fleet. On the tactical display, he watched as Admiral Chen's warships moved to protect the more vulnerable Concord vessels, absorbing hits that would have crippled Thale's ships. The humans fought with a precision and ferocity that was both terrifying and awe-inspiring. Commander, Dr. Tanaka called from the engineering station. We're ready to activate the modified field generator. The timing must be precise, Dr. Patel added. We'll only get one attempt before they adapt. Thale nodded. Coordinate with Admiral Chen's flagship. On her mark. Moments later, the human fleet suddenly pulled back in perfect formation. The Krill ships, sensing weakness, surged forward, directly into the trap. Now, General Washington ordered. The benevolent outreach vibrated as the modified communication array discharged a massive burst of energy. The wave struck the Krill formation, causing their interdiction fields to collapse inward. Ships collided, shields failed, and systems overloaded. In the confusion, the human warships struck with devastating precision. Within minutes, the Krill fleet was in ruins, survivors hastily jumping to light speed. As the immediate danger passed, Thale stared at the tactical display in amazement. That strategy, it shouldn't have worked. But it did, Lieutenant Connor said with a grim smile. This is what you need to understand about humans, Commander, Dr. Patel explained. Our death world didn't just make us physically resilient. It shaped our thinking. When every day is a fight for survival, you learn to improvise, adapt, and overcome. Or die trying, General Washington added. In the days that followed, as formal diplomatic relations were established between Earth and the Galactic Concord, Thale found himself reflecting on the lessons learned. The misinterpreted distress signal, a simple mistake, had led to first contact with a species unlike any in the Concord. The final diplomatic reception was held aboard the human flagship Determination. Thale marveled at how the humans had adapted their environment for their guests, adjusting gravity and atmospheric composition in different sections to accommodate various species. Admiral Chen raised a glass in toast to mistakes that turn into opportunities. Thale raised his own drinking vessel, and to the Deathworlders who turned out to be exactly what the galaxy needed. As the celebration continued around him, Thale watched a group of human children, part of a cultural exchange program, demonstrating Earth games to young Concord citizens. Despite their strength and resilience, the humans were careful, gentle with the alien children. Dr. Patel joined him. Something on your mind, Commander? I was just thinking, Thale replied, about how the galaxy views Deathworlders with fear, when perhaps we should have been looking to them for inspiration all along. We're not perfect, she said. Our history is filled with conflict and mistakes, but surviving a death world teaches you one important lesson. What's that? Thale asked. She smiled. That no matter how bad things get, there's always a way forward if you're stubborn enough to find it. as the benevolent outreach prepared to depart Earth space the next day, carrying the first human ambassadors to Concord Central, Phil couldn't help but feel that the galaxy was about to change forever. The SOS had been a mistake, but the Deathworlders it had brought into the galactic community might be exactly what was needed for the challenges ahead. In the vastness of space, sometimes the most dangerous worlds produce the most valuable allies.